Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Weekly Waypoint. Today we are playing Diablo 2 Resurrected. Those of you who have kept up with gaming news this week may have some inkling as to why we're playing this, but first of all, a few things. First of all, I've said first of all twice, so that's technically second of all. This is Switch gameplay footage. Technically it's on a Switch too, but it's not got a optimization patch or anything like that, so it is the Switch version. More importantly, I'm a Diablo 2 noob, so don't expect the best gameplay from me. I have tried this game before, and the furthest I got was like level 17 or 18 or something, and I entered like this monastery area. I was playing a sorceress and I got swarmed with mobs and an elite and stuff, and I think I was a little bit underleveled maybe, and I died, and I didn't realise that when you died you dropped all your stuff, and that really put me off, so I stopped playing, and I've had a couple of goes at it since then, but this is my first real second go at the game. Diablo 3 was my first Diablo game, and it's the one that is supreme within my heart, but third of all, the thing I need to tell you is this is the base edition of Diablo 2 Resurrected, and by what I mean by that is I have not yet picked up the Reign of the Warlock expansion, which is the main reason we're playing this game, and it's what I want to talk about. Because there was a Diablo 30th anniversary live stream this week, and I wasn't sure what to think about it going into it, because it's very clear that every Blizzard property is obliged to put out a hype kind of like announcement stream start of the year video thing, and when you force your devs to do that, it's not always going to be a hit, because there's not always going to be a guarantee that you've got stuff to show off at this time of the year, right? Like, for Overwatch, turned out to be seismic. For World of Warcraft, not so much. That was kind of a dud. For Diablo, I'm not sure if I would use the word seismic, but it was very, very cool because they announced the Warlock DLC for Diablo 2 and Diablo 4 and the other one. Actually, should we get my gripes out of the way real quick? So this was a big 30th anniversary celebration thing, and I really liked the concept of, you know, conceptualizing a class to release across all of the different Diablo games, all your kind of, I guess, mainline Diablo games of the moment, and to kind of be like, this is what it would look like in Diablo 2, this is what it would look like in Diablo 4, this is how it evolves in the story and the lore throughout the timeline of these games and stuff. What I don't love is that it's very clear that Blizzard have decided that Diablo Immortal is Diablo 3 too. I've known this for a while. It's the game that's most closely tied to Diablo 3 in terms of story and aesthetic, and you know, it is basically like the same classes and stuff and a lot of the same environments. And I don't want to play Diablo Immortal because that's a gacha cash grab game. And not all gacha games are immediately awful. Don't get me wrong, I've tried a few in my day. And I've tried Diablo Immortal, but it is impossible to ignore the pay-to-win elements from very early on. And yeah, twice I've tried that game, and twice I've gone, no, yeah, this really is just awful, so no. I really wish that they would continue updating Diablo 3 if they're going to continue updating Diablo 2. But here's the thing, I don't begrudge them updating Diablo 2 first if they're going to start doing this, because I think Diablo 2 has a community of players who have, I've seen them, been actively asking for some sort of content update to their game. And I remember thinking, like, that's never going to happen. What are you talking about? But it's something that was highly requested, and there's an audience for it. So I think it's really cool that this happened. And I don't know if I'm going to get super into Diablo 2 in this playthrough and become a huge Diablo 2 fan after this or anything. But if I do, yeah, sure, I'll check out Reign of the Warlock. But until then, I should probably try the base game first. So I'm playing an Amazon because I was looking through the classes. I was like, okay, Sorceress was clearly too squishy. I did briefly try Paladin, but it was a bit boring. And then I was like, oh wait, Amazon, that's a class that's not in any of the other Diablo games. And I really like that kind of theme, that kind of vibe. And from what I briefly looked up, because I did check out a couple of videos for like beginner tips and stuff, it seems pretty good in terms of like damage and playstyle, so I'm feeling good about Amazon. Not something you'll hear me say regarding the company, but the Diablo 2 class, yeah, it's fun. I see that she specializes in javelins that you throw arrows and spears, but I've yet to find any spears, unless spears are also just weapons that you throw, and I haven't noticed the distinction between the two. But yeah, I'm kind of specializing in the whole spears/javelins thing. And Diablo 2 is a really interesting game as someone who started with Diablo 3. It's really difficult to go back because there's a lot of things, a lot of kind of gameplay design choices which get smoothed out for better or for worse in later games. And so going back, it's a bit like going back if you started playing Skyrim, going back and playing Oblivion, or if you started with Oblivion, going back and playing Morrowind, right? It's like, oh, this is something I've never had to worry about before. Like, here I make the cardinal sin of forgetting to pick up town scrolls, and you're going to see how that snowballs into me having to abandon loot. I kept hoping a town scroll would drop and it didn't. That's a pretty rookie mistake, I feel like. But as I've mentioned, there's stuff like dropping equipment and all your gold on death, so I've learned to bank all the gold that's on my person after I like go to town and pick up whatever I need to pick up. I'm like, okay, I'll just throw the gold in the stash, and it turns out that feels really rewarding, watching that gold stash build up over time and knowing that if I die, that gold is safe. That's not something I've ever had to worry about in Diablo 3, and that sounds like something that could be annoying to have to worry about, but actually it leads to a little gameplay quirk which is quite satisfying when you pay attention to it. This is also a bit of a slower paced game. Obviously the combat's a bit slower compared to Diablo 3, but also you can see me here checking the quest, and I don't know where to go, and I don't know if the underground tunnel is in this little mausoleum area, so I'm just like checking it out, and as it turns out, it's not. But this is the kind of game where, like, because it's not all randomized every time you go through it, and it's not made to be super replayable like bounties and rifts and stuff, it's a game which is static, and in that way you can learn it. So this is all just me learning the game as I play it, and future runs will be smoother. But also, I didn't regret exploring these mausoleums because it was cool to like run through and get some XP and loot and stuff anyway. So that's something I like about older RPGs as well. Like, you know, there's value to just going out and exploring, even if there's no quest attached to what you go and find, because you can still get like loot and XP and have a worthwhile time in doing that. But yeah, I don't think I finished my tangent about Diablo 3. Sorry. I do wish that, I know it's a huge ask because Diablo 3 kind of stopped receiving updates long ago, and definitely stopped receiving updates when Diablo 4 came out, and it's kind of a recently shelved game. And Diablo 2 getting this update, it's not exactly precedented, right? It's like the first new class that's been added to the game in 25 years. That's crazy. So to want the same well, not to want, but to expect the same from Diablo 3 is a bit weird, I know, but I would like to see that eventually. Because Diablo 4, I've yet to really love it. I have enjoyed my time with it, and I hear the game continues to get better, and I will try it again at some point in the future. But for now, I remain a Diablo 3 girly. But anyway, yeah, why am I playing this on Switch 2 when I own it on PC? Well, I mean, I don't really have all that much space on my PC right now, and I realized that when I picked up Diablo 3 last year, I bought the Diablo 3 plus 2 pack. I forget which one came super cheap in the bundle, but I remember buying it for Diablo 3 and being like, hey, maybe I'll get to playing 2 someday. And I forgot that Diablo 2 Resurrected has crossplay, so there you go. Turns out I have the ability to play this game handheld or on my PC. That's rather lovely, isn't it? Speaking of a Nintendo Switch 2 family of systems, it's a very lonely family. There's just the one of them. I've had this thing for a week and a half now. For those of you who don't know and didn't watch last week's episode was a mega episode. It was almost an hour long because I had just got my Switch 2 and I was talking all about it and my first impressions and all that stuff. Not gonna blab on for quite as long this week, but I do have some follow-up thoughts and behaviors to report to you, as if you're a cognitive behavioral therapist that I should be telling about my activities. Is this therapy? Are you therapy? I'm not paying you for this. So what have I been playing on my Switch 2? Well, more Mario Kart World, more Breath of the Wild. I've been playing a bit of everything, and in fact, my attention span kind of suffered for it. On my last 2 days off last week, I couldn't keep my attention on anything for more than an hour, and it was really frustrating, actually. I think I kind of fried my brain with the excitement of the Switch 2 and all the new possibilities it opened up to me, but yeah. I talked about starting Monster Hunter Stories 1. I've continued playing that this week, and I'm still really enjoying that. I don't really feel any rush to jump ahead to Monster Hunter Stories 2 because I bought that 2-pack. But yeah, I've got over 10 hours in Monster Hunter Stories now, which might not seem like a lot, but that does mean it's past the 8-hour threshold of doom through which most games that I'm checking out kind of hit, and then for whatever reason I don't play more than 8 hours. Doesn't mean I'm guaranteed to finish the game or anything, but it's just a fun metric I've realized. But if we're being honest, the game I've been playing the most of is Skyrim. I know. For a while I was playing the Switch 1 edition of Skyrim, and that was suiting me just fine, until it wasn't, and I realized I was really getting into this new playthrough of Skyrim, and I really wanted the Switch 2 experience, but I said no, I'm limiting my spending at the minute, and I can't just go on a spending spree on the Nintendo Switch eShop. I should be sensible. And then the damn thing went on sale, so I stopped being sensible, and I picked up my 7th copy of Skyrim. Look, it's one of my favorite games of all time, alright? And you may have heard about the Switch 2 release of Skyrim and how scuffed it was. They have since patched it. The input lag is now the same, if not better, than it was on Switch 1. It is still 30 frames a second. I do wish that they would patch that to be 60. There are brief moments when it is 60, like when you're in a small building interior, or when you're in the loading screen, or when you're choosing your perks. But it is 30. I can live with 30 if I want to have this handheld experience. So honestly, I think this is going to be my main version of Skyrim for the foreseeable future, because I love playing Skyrim portably. It's so cozy. But also the main reason I picked this up is because I haven't actually picked up an anniversary edition of Skyrim yet, despite loving that game so much, despite it being one of my favorite games of all time. I've been behind the times. I've still been on that crummy old special edition. Ew, dude. So this isn't just me buying another edition of Skyrim with nothing new. This is actually worthwhile in terms of new content for me to go and play and explore. And it would have cost the same if I just bought it for my PC version. So, you know, I think that's fine. For those of you who don't know, the Anniversary Edition adds a curated list of community mods. I think some of them are Bethesda made, and the ones that are added are made by like Bethesda's mod partners or whatever they do over there. And so I looked through what's been added, and there's been some player homes added. There's been like different tiers of items added, like ebony arrows and stuff. I think they're new anyway. New crossbows and all this stuff. And it's really fun because it's nothing crazy, right? It's nothing earth-shattering, or nerd-shattering, I guess I should say. It's not like suddenly you can go and play through Elsewhere content. It's not a giant overhaul. And it's not one of those mods either that's going to give you like hundreds of new spells or anything. Instead, it's like this pack of stuff which is just going to broaden the depth of the game through a long playthrough. So while there might not be anything immediately different as you're playing through the game, you will like find new items in chests and you go, oh, you know, it's really great for people like me who are super familiar with Skyrim and have played through the game countless times, because I'm just playing through the game and suddenly there's something I don't recognize or something new that I'm not expecting, and it's just a really nice way to like freshen up a playthrough, like a new playthrough, without necessarily completely transforming the experience into something unrecognizable. So that's what I'm enjoying right now. Also, the Switch edition has mouse mode, which is fun because technically I've never been able to play this game with a mouse and keyboard, right? You're not allowed to rebind numpad in Skyrim. You never have been, and as a left-handed person who uses numpad for movement keys and doesn't want to relearn muscle memory just to play Skyrim, I've always used a controller for that game, and so it's nice having mouse mode. However, I will admit, it's a little weird. I'm not used to mouse mode yet. I'm not jiving with it. It's weird, like, moving the Joy-Con around sideways and having a mouse move around, but also having, like, all these buttons on the side and the analog stick jutting out, and I'm still using that for, like, playing the game a bit. Maybe Skyrim just isn't good with mouse mode. Maybe it's wonky. Maybe other games are better, like Civilization or whatever. But yeah, it's my first experience with mouse mode, and for the most part, I'm just ignoring it and using controller. I've also been playing around with gyro aiming, which is not a Switch 2 exclusive feature, that is on Switch 1. But I don't know how I feel about gyro aiming. I feel like it's never quite as synced up sensitivity-wise with my movements as I would like it to be, and I'm often drifting off track. But yeah, with the Switch 2, for the most part this week, I've just been window shopping, because I really am holding back on the spending. and I've just been adding stuff to my wishlist. Should I tell you what I've added to my wishlist? Let's window shop together. So for the most part, what's on my wishlist so far is just ports of games that I have on other platforms but would like to play portably. That's the dream with the Switch too, right? And the original Switch. So far on my wishlist, I've got Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, Titan Quest, Torchlight 2, Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning, Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen. We have got some exclusives here, which I'll get around to mentioning, but any other ports? Oh, No Man's Sky, the Nintendo Switch 2 edition, which is currently on sale, but not getting that. What else? Oh, Grid Autosport, I would love that. It's one of my favorite racing games, and they did release it many years after the original version released for Switch, which I find pretty cool. I don't know why, I just think that's really cool that they did that. Oh, and The Witcher 3 as well. I wouldn't mind having The Witcher 3, although I think I would hold off and see if they're going to do a Switch 2 upgrade, because it does look a bit blurry on the old Switch 1 edition. As for the rest of my wish list, we're looking at Puyo Puyo Tetris, Pokemon Violet the Hidden Treasure of Area Zero, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD, Super Mario RPG, Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, Super Mario Galaxy 2, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Pokemon Legends CA Mega Dimension DLC. Tetris Effect Connected is another port I skipped over. Gear Club Unlimited, the third game in the series is coming out on Switch, and I've looked up reviews of the first game and it's like a 6 out of 10, but the third one looks fun, and I was always kind of curious about this game, and I think it's a Switch exclusive game, so I wouldn't mind that. Fire Emblem Engage, Tomodachi Life Living the Dream, 51 Worldwide Games, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, 3, and X, Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line, The Adventures of Elliot the Millennium Tales, Bravely Default Flying Fairy HD Remaster, Fast Fusion, Pokopia, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdoms, Fire Emblem Three Houses, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX, New Pokemon Snap, Cruise and Blast, Miitopia, and Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, which is £4.49. Oh, that's tempting, but I'm being good. That is my entire current Switch wish list. You didn't ask, but I give it to you anyway. I like reading out lists, it's fun. I thought it would be fun to do that just because it gives you a very quick idea of where my head's at in terms of like, oh, this would be fun, this would be nice. A lot of these games are like, oh, I wouldn't pay full price for them, and they don't really go on sale very often because they're like first party Nintendo games or whatever. But I'm going to keep my eye on Deku deals for them physical editions. But yes, in short, if you couldn't tell, very much enjoying my Switch 2 at the minute. I'm going to keep talking about it because now I'm going to talk about things that I would like to see come to the Switch 2 which are not yet here, or get upgrades. First of all, I am dying for Xenoblade Chronicles upgrades. I think I mentioned this last week, but I would happily start a new playthrough of Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition and try and get through the whole game this time, if it didn't look super blurry and run at 30 frames a second. I would love upgrades, please upgrades. I'd also quite like to see... Should we just talk wishlist ports? Because I haven't cared about ports to the Switch for a very long time, and now suddenly I do again. So I'd like Diablo 4. I know, I'm a mess. I'd like Diablo 4 on Switch purely because I bought the damn thing on Steam, and as we've mentioned in previous weekly waypoints, oh my god, it's a nightmare to keep installed on Steam, because whenever there's a tiny update, it reinstalls the entire game. And when it reinstalls the entire game, it does so by reserving the space of the entire game size twice over. And that's a lot of memory that I do not usually have spare. And it constantly fails to install, but maybe that's because I just didn't really have enough space for the memory it wanted to hold in reserve. And some of those things on the wishlist were like games I own on Xbox, and I'm not really playing my Xbox. It's gathering dust right now, so it's like replacements for the Xbox system. And this would be another one of those for sure, because I do own the base game originally over on Xbox. But yeah, Diablo 4 on Switch too, but like wait for a sale? I don't fucking know, man. It would also be cool to see The Elder Scrolls Online make the hop over, and it would be cool to see, well, we're talking MMOs, I would love to see Final Fantasy XIV on there. I think they've like soft confirmed that they're doing that. And I've never really played a console version of Final Fantasy XIV for more than 5 minutes, but I feel like I could really get my teeth stuck into a Switch 2 version as long as it was good enough. I think I have mentioned this before as well, but I wouldn't be averse to having the mobile version be the version that's ported, because that's got some interesting unique things with it, like how it handles glamours and how the jobs work and stuff. But unfortunately, it seems like the mobile version of the game might not be doing well, isn't getting many resources, and hasn't even been ported to the West yet, so That's probably not happening. I would also take World of Warcraft on the Switch too, but I think it's far more likely to show up on Xbox first and then maybe take a few years before they go, oh, let's also sell it on Switch. Sometimes when I say this, people are like, World of Warcraft wouldn't work on a controller, and I just emphatically point them at Final Fantasy XIV, which has a very similar spell system and has been working on controller since its inception. Or, you know, one of the many controller mods that people have made for WoW. Just because you haven't seen it done doesn't mean it can't be done. I've always said I wanted RuneScape on Switch as well, but the more I think about it, man, how would you control that? How would you turn that into a controller-friendly experience? I've always considered it in terms of a touchscreen, but I think it's pretty clear that they don't want people to be making games which are touchscreen only. Last week I would have said Oblivion Remastered, but now we know we're getting that. And, you know, because I don't own it, I only played it on Game Pass, so I do need to pick it up at some point, and it feels like picking it up on Switch 2 could be a fun way of getting that game. But I don't know, the graphics do look a bit soft, and I'll see how it comes out when it releases. They don't look bad, I think it's just that I would rather have sharp original Oblivion graphics over soft HD Oblivion graphics, you know? I would have also suggested Fallout 4, but that looks like an absolutely ass port from what they've shown us, so I hope that gets fixed up before release. Don't think it will though. I would also say Starfield, but given what the Fallout 4 port looks like, man, that port looks worse than Skyrim did on the Switch 1 at launch. How does that happen? Sometimes I wonder if devs or maybe publishers just think it's okay to put out a subpar experience because it's Switch and people playing on Switch are used to it, even though they could optimize it to look and run way better. I think it would be fun to see Forza Horizon come to the Switch, and I think we will eventually. And Halo, of course. But something I've been thinking about a lot as I've been playing Skyrim on the Switch is how fun it would be to have Fable Anniversary ported to the Switch. I know they're about to release a new Fable game, but that would be a really fun way to kind of like revitalize interest in the series for people who maybe don't own an Xbox, and I think it would be the perfect fit for the Switch. It's just such a cozy fantasy game. Like all the ports I've said up to now have just been, I like this game and it would be fun to have it here, but this one is more of like a, this just makes so much sense to have it on the Switch too, or even just the original Switch, because it's not exactly a demanding game. And also I've been thinking about Avowed. I'm like, if Avowed was on the Switch too, would I pick it up if it looked good and nice? Because again, that's a game I tried on Game Pass and you know, don't have Game Pass anymore. You know, like Kingdoms of Amalur is on my wish list for a reason. It's because I want to play that shit handheld. I've talked in the past about how I won't get a Steam Deck because my current lifestyle doesn't see me going away from like where my PC is very often. And there's not really any need to have a portable thing. I always forget to factor in the neat factor. Like, that's the whole thing with me wanting these games on Switch too. I don't need them portable, but I just think it's neat to have the option, and it really makes me value the games a little more. And then all I can think of elsewise as far as ports goes is just older Nintendo games continue to be brought forward to the current platform, 3DS and backwards, I'm thinking. And there's no better time than to transition into talking about this rumor, which I am very cynical about. There's a rumor going around about, and it's from very credible sources, and they're all saying the same thing independently of each other, apparently. Saying that on the Pokemon Presents Day, we don't even have a confirmed Pokemon Presents, but on Pokemon Day, when there's normally a Pokemon Presents, there will be a Pokemon Presents, and during that Pokemon Presents, they will present a Pokemon game known as Fire Red and Leaf Green, and they will drop them for $30 each on the eShop. Well, I never. If that happens, I will surely pick up one of those. One would imagine it would have home integration and stuff, but I would love that. But I would want more than that. Don't stop there, keep going. At this point, that kind of feels like the bare minimum. You should also port over, you know, Emerald, Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, and like Diamond and Pearl and Black and White and the 3DS games. Do them all, damn you. Like, fine, charge $30 for each one. Maybe $40 for the 3DS ones if you like. I don't care, I'll pick them up and eventually as I get the means to. Just do it already, though. Anyway, I think that's enough rambling. If you don't care for the Switch 2 and you've made it this far, thank you. We'll get back to talking about things that aren't just for Switch 2 eventually. It's just what's currently going down in my sphere of interest, you know. I mean, you know, I've also played some Steam games this week. I played some more Fallout 76 with Reese. I've been playing some more ESO, doing the Valentine's Day event. I've been playing some Forza Motorsport. I did actually spin up Yakuza 0 and Final Fantasy 4. If it sounds like a lot of games, remember I did say I couldn't keep my attention on anything for longer than an hour earlier this week, and this was part of that. But, you know, I did talk about Final Fantasy 4 last week, actually, so yeah, that's then. Also, I've been doing the World of Warcraft Valentine's Day dungeon because there's a new mount, and I've been getting sick of the queue, so I've been healing. I know, terrifying business. But yeah, that's it from me, so thanks for checking this video out. Let me know down below what you had for breakfast. You thought I was going to say what your favourite Switch 2 game is or your most wanted, right? No, just let me know what you have for breakfast. I'm curious, was it hula hoops? You shouldn't have hula hoops for breakfast. What am I thinking of? Toffee hoops? That's not it. That's a yogurt. What are the hoops? Multigrain hoops. But like the Cheerios, that's the word. Okay, bye.